Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule the Galaxy fans. It is Joe in the pilot seat, and we are at chapter 121 of the Rule the Galaxy podcast. As always, you can follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter, Rule the Galaxy SW at gmail.com, or just Rule the Galaxy on YouTube or Facebook. We don't do a lot of Facebook for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, but enough of me because we've got great guests, our regular co-hosts. Another one will be hopping on in a minute. And then we've got one of our just best, most fun guests we have on here. Lots of energy. And he always talks about buying Star Wars toys in Indiana someday. But I'll go around the room and introduce everybody. We'll start off with my cousin Alfie, because I like to do things alphabetical order. Alfie, how are you, sir? I think Alfie's on mute. He might
No,
be.
Alfie's signing today's show.
I think Alfie.
This is why you got to check out the YouTube page.
Right.
There we go.
That's
Alfie's
right.
back.
Gotta
Yes.
see it on video or else.
Got unplugged there for a second. Sorry about that. Yeah, doing good. I've had a real struggle today to contain myself after this episode. I've been hyped all day long, and now my mind is completely blank. So,
Well, that's okay.
That's how it works.
We'll stir things up. That'll all come back to you here in a minute. My other cousin, Nick, I have many cousins, but one of my other cousins, Nick Shesky. Nick, brother, so glad to have you back. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm glad to be back. I'll tell you, life has been crazy busy, and yet our little group text that we have has been keeping me afloat. I've been off social media, kind of running, and yet this morning at 4:45, 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm getting texts from Alfie of, oh my God, I can't contain my excitement. This is amazing. And I finally got to watch it this afternoon, and it did not disappoint. And so I'll stop talking so we can start talking about what really matters, what matters here.
No, that's okay. I'm glad. Look, you're right. Life does get in the way. I was telling you guys beforehand, work has been a bear the last few days. I've been, just zooming through it as much as I can. And I was actually typing an email when Alfie popped on before we started tonight. So I get it. And you've got young kids. So I know you guys are facing it. Me and our next guest right here, our special guest tonight, we don't have to worry about those little kids to chase around anymore right now. So let's get over to this young man who's on YouTube. If you're watching, he is wearing his Columbia. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
Columbia
right.
Boba Fett coat, parka, whatever. Yeah. How are you, Scott Ryfun?
I am superb. I'm absolutely. Can you tell? I'm in 70 degrees in the house, and I'm wearing this gigantically thick coat. So, how can I not be great, right?
Man, it's gorgeous. You know what? I'm glad you got one of those. I don't think it's on my my to-do list right now. Maybe if somebody leaves me some money, I'll do that.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. One day when you have an entire episode to devote to the story of my getting this jacket, we will do it. But it is literally an episode, the entire story.
You know what? We'll do a my Star Wars story just about the parka. How about that?
Yeah, that'll be the I'm Scott's jacket, and this is my Star Wars story. Because that's what it's really that's what it's going to be. So
hey,
I'm excited because this week we saw in the Book of Boba Fett that the Mandalorians were really the first people with a mask mandate, and that is exciting to me.
Man.
Wow, we are. Oh, that's great. That's the first I've heard that, and I love it. That's hilarious.
And they adhered to theirs now.
True.
They did.
They can't see you if you take it off. So
Clearly.
Wow. Mask mandate. Somebody tweet that. Alfie, Nick, Scott, tweet that.
3 minutes in, show's been canceled. Here we go.
Well, speaking of that, I will say this. My son, who was very excited about today's episode, Joey, just tweeted out, so excited, this episode had so much energy. And he put a picture, and it was an old picture from Mandalorian season 2 of Mando, Boba, and Fennec just sitting out there, where baby Grogu was on the rock. And some guy tweeted back at us. I'm not going to say his name, and called either me or Joey, because I retweeted it. They called us a dick for putting that picture out there. And I thought, wow, feel the love in the Star Wars community. Look, let's face it. Last week's episode had the Mandalorian theme throughout it, leading into this week's episode. Every person in the world, even StarWars.com, tweeted the Mandalorian theme before this show came out. and Joey had a picture of the Mandalorian on. And I look, this person, if you're a listener, I'm not mad at you. I just maybe just
I'm
say,
mad at
hey,
you.
spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
you can be mad.
You don't
It's
have to
okay.
throw the
Maybe
dick
dial
out
it down a little
Hey.
bit.
Joe, do yourself a favor. Do not tweet out a picture of President Kennedy. We don't want to have to get into all that whole thing. You don't want to ruin that the ending of that one for him.
Wow.
So
Yeah. Or Titanic. I guess I should
Yeah,
not put anything on that. So, but that's neither here nor there. I'm okay. It was just funny that it went to that level that quick. I was like, wow, we're going right in. So
yeah, that's the internet thing. And you know what that is? And I have this big theory about this. It's not an episode worth. It's okay. But it is literally people, when they don't have to look you in the eye and say it, they will say whatever. But if they had to look you in the eye, they would never go there, and you would find a way to work it out. But that's internet. I'm only looking at my keyboard, and that's it.
Yep.
And your keyboard is soulless.
it is.
That
a nice
actually
little
seems
buffer.
pretty. That seems pretty
What's
on par with the dumpster fire that is Twitter Star Wars.
Well,
So
you know what my nickname for Twitter is, right?
I believe
Twitter.
I've heard it before. Toilet paper, maybe.
Twitter is the toilet paper of the internet because it comes in small pieces and it's covered in crap. So that is exactly what Twitter is.
I couldn't remember algebra, but I can remember Scott Ryfun's comments about Twitter.
Well,
there you go.
Which one will serve you better in life? Let's be honest here.
This is true. Alfie, you were going to say something.
Wasn't it Mike Tyson, who said something similar to that? Like, not enough people have been hit hard enough in the mouth.
it's fair.
Great. Now we're threatening violence against the listeners.
No, we are pacifists. We are Satine Crees. I mean, we are, well, I'll tell you what, we didn't, outside of Book of Boba Fett, we were talking before, not overly newsworthy week here in Star Wars because we were all focused on this. But a couple things I do want to bring up before we hopped into the Book of Boba Fett episode that was today. And by the way, D-Doc, one of our regular co-hosts, will be on here momentarily. He's putting kids to bed, which good for him. Again, another one of you youngsters with these kids. One, I will throw this out there. About a week or so ago, I asked people, I said, here's my Star Wars top 10 character list. I would love to hear yours. And we had like 14 or 15 people write me back on Twitter and give me their top 10 list. And it was a very wide array of characters. And so I will tell you that after 14 or 15 people sent that over to me, I'll give you the rankings from 10. Well, I can't because, well, no, I can. From number 10 back, I believe, right here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. Okay, we're good. There were some ties, so I'll just start from backwards to the countdown. On the bottom of the list, The Mandalorian, Din Djarin, makes the top 10. Wow, I was pretty surprised about that, actually. Also coming up from the bottom, Ahsoka. I thought she would have been higher, actually, on Twitter, but she's in the top 10. Number, should be right around number 8, Boba Fett. The next one on the list, R2-D2, followed up by Captain Rex, which that one actually surprised me. I love Captain Rex, but I didn't see him making it that high on the list.
Oh, Captain Rex.
Yeah,
Captain. Wait, which Captain? Like Captain Rex, the clone trooper, or Captain Rex, the? Okay, not the original pilot of Star Tours.
Oh gosh,
because I would have put him there.
I thought the original pilot of Star Tours was like DJ or something.
No, he's DJ Rex now, but he was just Rex then.
Okay,
he's DJ Rex because he's at the cantina there, Oga's Cantina.
There we go. Okay. Let's see. Number 5, Princess Leia. Number 4, Darth Vader / Anakin. Number 3, Han Solo. Number 2, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Number 1, Luke Skywalker. But I just thought it was very interesting. It was that's a pretty standard list, I think, but there were some surprises for me even in that top 10. But there was one that really stood out to me. Well, a couple things. One, I guess you could say they're sequel characters in Luke, Han, and Leia, so on and so forth, but not really many sequel core characters. Go ahead, Nick.
Joe, did you have any outliers, like somebody that puts like Jar Jar Binks #1 or, anything?
We did have let me see here. 1 second. Darth Maul was #1 on somebody's list. Boba Fett was #1 on somebody's list. So yeah, those were the biggest. Let me see.
Now you said Luke was #1, but you kind of drew it out there. Were you saying
Not
Luke
Clone
or
Wars.
Luke?
Sorry, Luke with 1 U. Luke
Okay.
Skywalker.
I thought maybe a lot of people love, they love their Timothy Zahn.
Well, yes,
Oh, wow.
and I'm
Yeah.
going to bring him up before we end this show because
Okay.
interesting thing. But really, Hera was on there, Lando, Bo-Katan, Chirrut Imwe, Savage Opress, Kylo Ren. There was a mixture. I will say, the one person who was really into Jabba's palace, the larger dancer was in their top 10. What's the larger? Not Ula, but the other one.
No, Yarna Del Gargan.
There we go. Yarna. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. She
Yeah.
actually made someone's top 10 list. I was a little shocked by that. Yeah, just outside of the top 10, Qui-Gon Jinn, Yoda, Kanan Jarrus, Darth Maul, Padme, Hera, Kylo Ren, Thrawn, Cad Bane, K2SO. Those are the next 10 or so right there. But yeah, I just look, it's very unscientific and it's using Twitter and it's just asking people their opinions. But I thought it would be a different top 10 when you get Twitter world in there and different age groups and things like that. But any shocks or surprises to you guys in anything on that top 10 list, or people missing or should have been on there?
So
Yeah,
where
no
did you,
Ray at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ray was only in 2 people's top 10s.
Wow.
well, you have to remember that The Force Awakens made most people happy. The Last Jedi made a lot of people unhappy, and The Rise of Skywalker made everybody who wasn't happy unhappy. So there's
That's
been a
accurate.
lot of tarnish on the legacy there. And
Yeah.
so I think probably there will be a reappraisal in 10 years or so, and things will look a little different for those characters. But for right now, yeah, it's, we're washing out. But look, this happened. You youngins don't know about this, but in the mid 80s, Star Wars was just looked down on, period. And people hated Ewoks, and there are so many people like Steve Glosson, yesterday's birthday boy, who love Return of the Jedi, but he did not know of the concept of all the backlash against Return of the Jedi that was there in the mid 80s. And it was there. I remember it very well, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Star Wars died then real fast after Return of the Jedi.
It did.
We very much call those times the dark times. And it was literally, I just remember wandering the desert looking for things in stores that said Star Wars and not being able to find them.
Kind of like today almost sometimes.
If I go to Target right now, it's about this. If I can find about 40 different kinds of Grogus and then nothing else.
Orlando.
But Lando and Grief Karga. For whatever reason, those guys are hanging out. And it's the same at Disney World. We were at Disney World December last month, and I'm poking around there looking for action figures, and all they've got are Landos. Just everywhere you go, it's just like vintage collection Landos on the card. Hey, we got 20 Landos here. We got 15 Landos at this store. We got, I don't know what the deal is with Lando. And the thing is, it's a great figure. In fact, that card, let me tell you, Empire Strikes Back figures first came out, leading up to the movie. Who's the first Empire Strikes Back figure I got? Besides the mail away Boba Fett, I don't really count that. But the first genuine Empire Strikes Back carded figure, that Lando.
Really?
Yep. Lando was the first one because Lando just seemed interesting to me.
Hey, I don't know anybody who doesn't love Lando. I love
How can
Lando.
you not?
And these guys here chipped in and got me a Billy D. Williams cameo for my birthday. And
That's
I still cherish that to this day. I watch it every now and then just to get myself all geeked up. But Nick, you were going to say something.
Well, first of all, poor Billy D. Williams, man. You just got to think the emotional toll that takes to know that maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he's doing his cameo thing and he doesn't care. But to have all your figurine, like to walk into I don't know if Billy D. Williams is walking into Target, so maybe it doesn't matter. But to go, man, all my figurine. Nobody wants a Lando. Come on, man.
It's
I'd like
just
to
there's
speak
so
to the
many.
manager.
Well, why are there so many? There's so many because apparently nobody wants them. What's that about?
But where do all the other figures go?
In somebody's basement collecting dust ready
I went
to be
to Target
resold.
this week,
Yeah.
and there were 12 of the same Black Series Landos. So
I'm
even
saying.
if there's 2, at some time they had to have had 6 cases of other figures. How did they disappear that fast?
Sir, this is the manager. You know, you got a lot of guts coming here after you pulled my figures off the counters.
Hey, real quick, you mentioned it as D-Duck's getting ready to hop on, Scott. You mentioned it yesterday was Mr. Glawson's birthday. He's turning
Correct.
40. You say 45
I
or
say
44?
40. I say 45, 77.
Okay.
Because I think he came out 4 months before Star Wars came out. I think that's how that worked.
Okay. Well, you know what, Steve, if you listen, happy birthday from the crew here. Actually, he will be our guest next week, so we'll
That's right.
celebrate with him the week after his birthday. So, and while we wait for D-Doc, I know nothing about Star Wars games. I rely on you guys to bring me that knowledge, but I did see that Star Wars is going to have 3 new games coming out. So, Alfie, start that ball rolling. What are we going to get hit with? What's it all about? Anything good?
I read the same article from like 10 different sources, basically, and there really wasn't a whole lot of information, except there's 3 new EA Star Wars games. One of them they heavily hinted, and I could never find it in print, that it was the sequel to Fallen Order, but from their description, it sounds like that's it. Then the second one will be a first-person shooter created by the team that did Medal of Honor. I think it will not be Battlefront 3. It will be something new. And then a strategy game. What that means, I don't know, because to me, like Knights of the Old Republic could be considered a strategy game.
I think
One
they're
of the-
doing Madden Star Wars 2022. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, here's a guy who blew up the Death Star. Boom.
Now,
Oh,
before we
man.
get too far off on this or anything else, one thing to note, this seems to be EA's swan song with Star Wars. They didn't come right out and say it, but in the articles that I read, they said they want to move away from the licensing cost of Star Wars, which makes sense. I mean, you probably have a dozen games mapped out already. Why not just make them your own game without Star Wars and pay all that money?
Isn't that interesting?
Sell as much.
Isn't that interesting that EA kind of says farewell to the license right around the same time Hasbro renewed their license?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's just a strange coincidence. And of course, Hasbro has promised to continue their grand tradition of not actually having the action figures in the stores. So we get to, look forward to that.
That's interesting though, Alfie.
Yeah.
Because reality is like, I'm not gonna buy a video game unless it has Star Wars on it. Like when it really comes down to it, like the last 4 video games that I bought, because I don't get to play it enough because I've got a maniac in my house that's 19 months old that, takes up most of my time, was Squadrons, which, to be true, I only played about 20 minutes of because I got so frustrated flying an X-Wing.
It was really hard.
Oh my gosh. Like you would have, I was so frustrated playing it that I couldn't play it much more.
But it's a great game.
Oh yeah, great game. Battlefront 2 and then Fallen Order, which is maybe the greatest video game I've ever played.
Right.
Ever.
They really hit it out of the park with Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Now, Battlefront 1 was way too rushed and was like half of a game. It got better.
Yeah.
Battlefront 2, they really put some resources into it, but that whole loot crate fiasco was such bad press. And if you look at what they did as a company for that game in the first few weeks to change it to meet, the demands of the people playing it, that had to take a tremendous amount of resources and money to do.
Right.
And to keep supporting that game, because that game just continued to get better until now it's unplayable, but it turned into a fantastic game.
Scott,
What
as
I'm
I
getting
said,
at though.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No,
No,
I
you're
was just gonna say, Nick, you got a huge point here, though, which is, I mean, how much money are they paying versus the license versus how much are they not going to make by people like you and me who aren't going to buy it if it doesn't say Star Wars on it? Do you know how many unopened Star Wars video games I've got upstairs? I mean, I got a drawer of CD-ROM Star Wars games I never opened. They're just sitting there because I bought them because they said Star Wars on them.
That's it. And I'm a marginal video game at the best, but if I think it's going to move canon forward, then by golly, I'll go buy it. Like I'll do it and I'll jump in and make it happen.
Yeah, if there's a story mode, I'm buying that game and I'm going to watch my son play it just so I can see the story. I may never
just so
play
I can watch the cutscenes. Like I'll get on YouTube and watch the cutscenes just to see, hey, what new thing is happening in the Star Wars universe. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that is what a Star Wars game is. It's watching guys like you play and just saying, hey, this is pretty cool. It's like watching a miniature movie, something away from what we're used to seeing. Boom, right there on my screen, and you guys control it. Because you guys said you're getting frustrated with games just to get them. I can't even get him started. I don't even know where to click the right buttons for him. So I've stayed away from him, which is probably good because it's probably saved me quite a bit of money. But I've just thrown that at 6-inch Black Series figures. So, but anyway, Scott, are you much of a gamer? I know these guys like to play video games. I
don't. But I say that I'm not. But I did get an Oculus Quest a couple of weeks ago. And the first thing I bought, the only game I've really bought, was Vader Immortal. And I did that because I think we've talked on this program before about doing Secrets of the Empire down at Disney.
Yeah.
And how amazing that thing is. And I thought, well, this is VR similar to that. And so I got it. I strapped it on. Went up to my media room and I was like, I'm going to do this thing. And I put the thing on and started up. And it says, okay, you got to mark your area. So I marked my area. And it said, that's not big enough. I don't know, what do you mean it's not big enough? It's got to be 6.5 by 6.5 feet. I'm like, where am I going to find the space for the because you think 6.5 feet by 6.5 feet, it's not that big, but then you realize you have furniture, you have a coffee table, you have, dog crates, you have a kitchen table. And so literally I bought it, but I haven't played it yet because I got nowhere. So I'm literally at some point one night, I'm going to go out of my backyard and map it out as my area and do Vader Immortal. But until then, I'm just kind of stuck, just kind of surfing the web.
That's the kind of game I can play, right? Because I don't have to worry about 9 different buttons and doing this and that. This is a game where I look, I move. The Wii was a big game with, using the Wii was my kind of game. So playing that is my kind of game right there.
And that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the Wii, and the Wii was the last video game system I got before this. So, I'm excited. And honestly, I got the Wii for free. So,
well, Alfie's looking like he's going to mock us here. Go ahead, Alfie.
Try updating it, because we just got one and it does not require that much space.
Vader Immortal doesn't?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's only 6.5 by 6.5.
We got the newest. Do you have the Oculus 2?
Yeah. I just got it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And when I maxed it out,
we play in is nowhere near that big.
Okay. Well, good.
I'll try it.
Well, we've hammered that out. Hey, look who's with us. Din Djarin is with us, with Baby Yoda right there, with Grogu. D-Doc, how you doing, brother?
What's going on, guys?
Not much.
That's
how are
a
you?
good-looking Mandalorian helmet.
Whew.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt everything here. Crazy night getting on. So, wow.
The beard mustache, you're looking more like a Star Wars character every day. I really do think that. You could fall right into a Jedi kind of thing, maybe one of the rebels. You got that look going about you, D-Doc.
I like it.
And there's not enough gingers in Star Wars, so you could go right in there and take over for the Hux lovers that are out there.
You could be Carl Jade.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Oh, holy cow, guys!
Wow.
We have a surprise guest coming on.
Uh-oh.
We didn't know. I'm
Just
sorry.
keeps getting better.
Yeah, you know what, Scott? I think Brent just wanted to hear your voice and be around you tonight, so he's hopping on. So
know how to feel about that.
There's only one way to feel about it.
So for those watching on YouTube, you see these people hopping on. For those of you listening, D-Doc just hopped on with us, so he's joined in, and slowly but surely, Brent is breaking my ears.
He's apparently got his mic in his pocket.
He's being shot at right now.
Hey, I got to get this out.
Are you rubbing your microphone against rocks right now? So anyway, D-Doc, before Brent hops on, how are you doing, brother? We haven't started talking about Book of Boba Fett. We're going to Book of Boba Fett in a minute. How's everything going?
Oh my God, I'm doing great. I just got done that darn episode, came up here and turned the laptop on. That's why I have this shit-eating grin on my face. Pardon my French, sorry.
You got it.
Oh my God.
I thought that was a mare-eating grin. Wouldn't that be French?
Yeah, there you go. French. Brent Dykeman, so good to see you, and then have you disappear. That was well timed.
I'm a hot mess. Don't bother me. Yeah. Hi guys.
Hi,
Blue
Brent.
Galaxy. Sorry for the sound. I didn't realize that I was crackling and everything. Yeah. Okay. I was ready for 9 o'clock, not for 8 o'clock. So
I'm sorry. It's all good. We're all good.
it's all because Mr. Ryfun, and I get it. Mr. Ryfun's got to wake up bright and early so all the people in Georgia can hear him.
That's right. And I was late.
Oh
Well,
man.
Like Joe moves it up for me, and then I'm late. So
At this point, we should have just started at 9.
Hey, before we get going into Book of Boba Fett, a couple quick questions. One, Scott, why do you dislike Saint Simon?
You put the thing, does anybody have any questions? And I just was doing a preemptive strike against Steve.
Oh, okay.
That's his number one question for me. We have St. Simon's issues that come up sometimes, and sometimes the issues, like sometimes in mainland Glenn County, this is the most riveting Star Wars conversations everyone had. In mainland Glenn County, people have issues like storm drainage and ditches and roads with potholes. And on St. Simon's, they have a problem with the tennis players won't get off the pickleball court in time. And then it becomes a gigantic, and the one that gets the gigantic issue and all the ink is the pickleball stuff while people are drowning on the mainland because the storm won't drain. And so I get a little worked up about that. Steve interprets that as you hate St. Simon's Island, because there are people who do. I have people who come to me and they're mad at me for hating St. Simon's. I don't hate St. Simon's. I try to put the world in perspective, and there's some people who do not.
You know what? The people of St. Simon. It's not the place. It's just
I hate a small subset of people from St. Simon's.
Brent's usually are conscious on this show a lot, and we've had some ups and downs with Twitter recently of people, and then we've had people sitting there going, oh my gosh, if you spoil this show for me, I'm going to die, and this is going to kill this, and I hate you. And Brent always brings the deck to, really, not to bring up bad things, but Brent will say things like, I lost my mom last year. How does that compare to you having your show spoiled, right? Let's take a step back.
Yeah.
So we
and they're like, well, did you like your mom?
No.
Then, yeah.
Okay, but it's one step further. It's not even just that. It was like the Last Jedi premiered on this day, and it was the worst day of my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I lost my mom. Nothing's gonna compare to that. Like, I'm sorry that if that's the worst thing that happened in your life, I'm glad that you've had that privileged life.
Yeah, that's
I mean, right? The whole hyperbole of some of the fans just bothers me.
Yeah, actually, I said first world problem. I actually came up with a thing this morning. There's first world problems, and then there's like 1A problems, which is a step above first world problems.
Nick,
exactly.
Which, while we're talking about it, I completely agree. And yet, like, our chiropractor came to our place of work today, which I like, even saying that makes me just go like first world problems. But he came to our place of work today and goes, "You're a Star Wars fan. Have you watched Book of Boba yet today?" And began to almost spoil it for me. And Dr. Kyle, who listens to the show, I love you, but I almost strangled you in the office today when you were getting ready to. So while I get it, I also get it.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. We love Star Wars. We have to put it in perspective, but not enough to not commit murder.
Yeah.
Alfie, go ahead.
I'm just still trying to wrap my head around this idea that Brent became our moral compass.
Wow.
Hey, I mean, so like Twitter, it's Twitter. It's a dumpster fire.
That's the best part of it.
People are going to feign outrage because they can, and they're keyboard warriors, as Scott has talked about before when we've had him on. And so all of that is, and it's like somebody got lambasted today for something that they said, and my world still went on with the way that my world went on. And that person, I'm sorry for that person, or not sorry for that person, whatever.
You're not. It's okay.
Yeah, you're not.
You're
it's
not.
okay. It's all right.
But my world still went on. I was still able to watch Mandalorian on my way to work as I was driving through traffic.
What?
Well, what? You watched Mandalorian? You're not supposed to say that yet. We're talking about Book of Boba Fett.
No, but I'm getting to the he was driving while he was watching Mandalorian. Explain the mechanics
if you're
of this.
Committed or if you should be committed.
I watched it while I drove too.
Oh, man.
Thank you, Alfie. Thank you, Alfie.
There is no moral compass on this show. What is wrong with you people?
God. Okay, real quick before we
The
start,
surround sound in my car is phenomenal.
we're gonna
It's
start.
awesome in my truck. It is great.
We're gonna start the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 5, Return of the Mandalorian in one moment. But a quick PSA from Joe in the pilot seat. I do not recommend, and the show does not recommend, that you watch anything Star Wars or non-Star Wars related while driving your car.
Alfie, Brent, I think you have to do this episode while driving your car. I would right now go get in there.
Scott, my intro to this felt like I was driving my car while I was trying to get this all set up.
Just tune in to Rule the Galaxy podcast while you're driving on YouTube.
There you
Podcast. There we
go.
go.
On YouTube.
Watch
On
it.
YouTube.
Actually, I've had 2 people tell me they watch it on YouTube when they drive to work. So, but again, that's not good. That's not right.
No.
And please don't drive near me when you're doing that. I'll wave and it'll be just like you're watching it.
This is America, Joe. If I want to drive in my car and watch The Mandalorian, I will drive in my car and watch The Mandalorian.
All right. I think I've just figured out there's actually a 1B problem, apparently.
So it's not quite as high as the 1A.
No, it's like beyond 1A. It's
Oh,
like,
okay.
or 1AA problems.
Fellas, we'll just jump right in and just say this. I've only gotten to watch it once today because work was just crazy. Twice for Alfie, twice for Brent. D-Doc just watched it once. Nick once. Scott, how about you? Once, twice?
1.5.
1.5. Okay.
That's right.
So I will probably watch it again tomorrow, but this is free-flowing content right here. Let's just say this. I think we were all waiting in the last few episodes for this turn to occur, and the turn has happened. I think we're going down a different path than all the flashbacks. We are now moving forward with a new plan, a new vision, and it's getting everyone excited. The title is Return of the Mandalorian. Alfie, I believe, said, hey, watch for this show to start out in space. It didn't quite start out in space, but very soon after that it did. I mean, I guess we're all in space, but I felt like I was watching Rocky to start the show in the meatpacking plant. But other than that, somebody hit me with whatever you want. Let's just say it's an open forum. I will say I love this episode. It was so exciting. So many little things that were pointed out to me, and Joey texts me all day about them. I'm going to start with Brent, and we'll just keep going around. We'll follow him up with Alfie. Go ahead, Brent.
I mean, I think the Mandalorian said it best. The show was so wizard. That was
Was anybody else waiting for Wizard to come back?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it as a child of the prequels. I like audibly went like when he said it. So yeah, I can't fake it.
Okay.
Did Larry Niven get a credit on this at all? I don't think he did.
Who's
I mean,
that?
Give us
the guy who created Ringworld. I mean, they literally opened the episode on Ringworld.
From a Marvel comic?
No, from the novels. It's
which one is it?
Ringworld by Larry Niven.
But I'm saying, which book was it in?
In Ringworld by Larry Niven. It's a totally different science fiction.
Okay.
It's not a Star Wars thing.
I kept thinking of the Ring in the Marvel comics from the 70s.
Oh no,
so.
the wheel.
The wheel. Yes.
No, the wheel.
So
that's funny. G-Man, my son, came to me and he asked me, "Is this like the wheel?" No, it's not like the wheel, my son.
This is
the wheel.
Man.
The wheel's
So,
wonderful.
Ring. Go ahead.
There was a Matt Damon movie where he
Elysium.
wore like yes sir.
Elysium.
Yep,
That's
I thought
right,
the same thing, Brent.
So yep, I'm on Elysium. So your Ring World shows our age and what we're our timelines. My brain went to Elysium with Matt Damon.
Yes.
So
I
Alfie.
thought more of Halo.
That's what I thought as well. Halo right away. I
Wow.
was just like, this is Halo. Right when I
It's
saw it.
Ringworld is what it is. Come on, guys.
Okay.
You know what?
Go to
Scott,
the classics.
You need to send us a link to that because I know nothing about Ringworld. So
Larry Niven.
actually, so
Ringworm. Well, Ringworm and Ringworld, that's where they came from, actually.
Alfie, go ahead.
This was literally the worst episode of the Book of Boba Fett,
I love it.
but it was probably one of the best of any of the Disney Plus TV series episodes, I think.
So it was a great Mandalorian episode
Correct.
and
Yeah.
a bad Boba Fett episode.
I think we really see now why the odd number on the amount of episodes for this season, because this really felt out of place. I mean, I know where it's going with the story, and we're creating this narrative and we're going with it. But yeah, that was just a real shock that we're going to get a 100% devoted to the Mandalorian. But I
Okay.
loved every second of it.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Again, so we see him in the butcher shop. We've got him still bounty hunting, which is cool. And he brings out his famous line of, I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold, which I think is just a great line. And then badass enough, he turns out and says, oh, by the way, still got that Darksaber with me. So let's go. Right. That was pretty cool. Any more opening thoughts? Go ahead, Nick.
One of my favorite parts of the opening of this is the fact that he injures himself with the Darksaber, only because you don't see that. And with any other Jedi, you don't see that really with anybody, even Han Solo, right? Like using the lightsaber on Hoth, when, all throughout the reality is like, if you're not a Jedi and you don't have sensitivity to the Force, how dangerous is a beam of hot light that could burn through anything? To me, I thought it was a very cool, almost realism kind of pull into Star Wars, which I've talked about before on the show, but I liked it. I thought it was very, very cool.
Yep. Scott, D-Doc, opening. Go ahead, Scott.
All right. Well, I was just going to say, one of the things about the opening is I was surprised at how brutally violent he was, because I kind of had felt like after a couple of seasons of Mandalorian that with the child, he had softened a bit. And then I started thinking, at first I'm going, well, this is a little not the progress he'd made as a character, but I started thinking, the kid's gone. Maybe he is now in a darker place because he's returned to his old work. He's regressed from where he was brought. And he knows, if you follow the course of the episode, he knows what will kind of bring him salvation, what will kind of make him a better person, is being with Grogu, taking care of him, making sure he is well and right. But this was the opening of the entire series of Mandalorian was pretty violent. That first scene, when the guy gets chopped in half by the door and everything. This was above that. I mean, it literally, where he started in episode 1 of the Mandalorian, he's darker now. And I think that's a result of being away from Grogu, huh?
I said he decapitated a guy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he did.
Go ahead, Brent.
So I just want to say I agree with that, and he is darker, but it's also, I think, and I hear this and I never really thought about it, the Force and the light side of the Force that was emanating from Grogu too, right? So he was getting nicer, and he was getting nicer because Grogu was around, right? So now that light side Force is not around him anymore. He's not influenced by it as much as he was, and it allows him to go kind of back to where he was, if not worse. I also think he just got mad because he hurt himself and took some of that anger out on the. Which one are those guys, by the way? Because I know you guys will know what.
As a Platoonians.
Okay.
But I think that's a really good point as far as his being angry. But I think also a lot of what Mandalorian was his kind of growing into being a father. And this is, we old guys can talk about this kind of thing where our kids, in a very real sense, push us to be better, because we're an example and we are being watched. They see everything we do. They try to do everything we do. They repeat the things we do. And so I think that was a lot of what happened to this character during the Mandalorian's first couple of seasons. Now he doesn't have that, and he doesn't have that push to be better. He doesn't have that person looking up to him as the example. I think that makes a difference.
How about you, D-Doc? Chime in. What do you got?
Pretty much like my vision of what Mando would be doing. Like, we all had our vision of where he would be after everything happened in season 2. And just to see the setting they put him in this was freaking awesome, in my opinion. And like you said, the Rocky vibes were extremely strong in that scene with the meat packing.
So I thought some key moments and key things that came back up, and we can hit on these. One, the infrared markings for the Mandalorians as he was looking for their hideout, just awesome. I mean, to where they're the only ones that know to look for them and they're marked like that. Go ahead, Scott.
I was just going to say, can we just, I mean, you're going to talk about the visual cues there. Can we just talk about how gorgeous the entire episode is?
Oh yeah.
my God.
I mean, it is just the best looking hour of TV I have seen in a very long time. And that's any episode of Boba Fett or anything else. It's just a great looking episode.
Specifically, Scott, when he goes to that club up on the top where he's turning in the bounty, to me, the way they mix the sound on that, where like he gets out of the elevator and you could hear it in the background, and then like when the doors open and they shut, to me, I went, oh my gosh, this is one of the coolest like immersive experiences within
great.
Something I've seen in a while.
You ought to hear it on the sound system of a car while you're driving. I mean, it's really
Okay. So how excited was go ahead, Alfie, before I hit this. Mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. People
we're
on
going to
YouTube
read
know
lips,
he's back
Alfie.
on
It's
it.
okay.
While he's getting ready.
Okay, sorry.
There he
Sorry.
is.
I'm a hot mess tonight. Sorry about that. The thing about the ring world, I think you guys were still talking about that. I had to jump off for a second.
Yeah.
I immediately, when I saw this, thought, why didn't we see stuff this immersive, this detailed, this new in the sequel trilogy? All
He's
this
gonna go there.
I second it, Alfie.
that was like something we've never seen before. And all this money and talent they had with these movies, and
Wait a
we
minute.
got regurgitated.
Something we've never seen before. How dare you? In the sequel trilogy, we were introduced to a desert planet, a mobile space station battle star type thing. We had a jungle planet. Wait a minute.
We had a
Which trilogy
droid
are
that
you
rolled
talking
around
about
on
there?
one wheel.
Yeah.
Come on.
Go, Brent.
So I agree that it is beautiful, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but when they got onto the freighter liner, it was also beautiful on the freighter liner that he was taking to go to Mos Eisley.
Mhm.
But all of that did was trigger in my mind Galactic Star Cruiser, because I believe it looked like the promotional videos. There is the cleanliness, the shininess, the brightness of it reminded me of the Galactic Star Cruiser stuff. And then I'm gonna jump ahead again when he was
Minus the bad lounge singer.
correct.
Yeah.
And when he was flying over and around the Star Cruiser later in the episode, it also gave me vibes of the Galactic Star Cruiser. So while I would argue that there may be a reason why we didn't get it, and they're trying to tie in this world to that world, and there may be a Disney tie-in.
Maybe some product placement in the middle of the show, like other shows do. Yeah, a little bit.
It just gave me that. It just gave me those vibes. So that to go with that.
I think
That at least means the Galactic Star Cruiser is consistent in universe, I guess.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, but they played it off as it was like really boring, and there were little kids that were like jumping over your seat trying to get in your lap. And then he gets his ship and he's like, "Screw you guys! I'm gonna fly all around you." And
No, wait. There's a little kid, and understand this. There's a little kid who is green, friendly, and has giant dark eyes. Think about that for a second. And when you see that scene, he's sitting there. First off, when she gives, he has this Beskar spear melted down, and she says, he wants her to make some armor. And then he says he wants it for a foundling, and he says he wants it for Grogu, right? Then she wraps up, and I know everybody has to have seen this when it happened. When she wraps it up and ties it, it looks like him.
It does. It does.
100%.
And so he's sitting on the Star Cruiser, crash. Sorry, that was an Ewok adventure.
Ewok.
And when he's sitting on the Star Cruiser, and all of a sudden there is a child who is green, friendly, and big dark eyes looking at him. And then what does he do? He stares at the kid for a little bit, and then when the kid's mom says, "Hey, get over here," then he looks down at his Grogu-looking package. In other words, that child, that Rhodian, was evocative of Grogu in a certain way. That the certain look, and that's what it reminded. It kind of reminds me of the scene in Naked Gun where he's like, "Everywhere I look, something reminds me of her."
The big silos.
Not exactly the same, but you know what I'm saying.
I did
My
not
eyes
think.
watered up for that scene. Sorry, Joe, but
No,
my
you're
eyes
fine.
kind of watered up when he was looking at it. I don't know. It's like that's the best thing about freaking Star Wars is I'm looking at this guy in this helmet, looking at a little package
Mhm.
wrapped up that looks like Grogu, and it's making my eyes water because you can tell he freaking misses him. He's in pain, you know.
Mhm.
I would have bet, even with Scott Ryfun coming on tonight, I would have bet all kinds of money we would not get a Naked Gun reference in the show, but we did. So I would have lost. So going back to that, trying to do a little chronological while we're hitting all kinds of points. Seeing the Armorer and Paz Vizla come back was absolutely awesome. And I think one of the key things that she said was they talk about the Empire. It only lasted 30 years. The Mandalorians have been around for 10,000 years. And I just really, I stopped and I was like, yeah, I never really thought about the Empire only being 30 years. That is a short period of time in history when you spread things out like that. So, but that whole scene with those three all together, and we can get to the fight and the Darksaber and all that, but that was some of my favorite part right there when they were all together. Go ahead, Nick.
Well, how destructive the Empire was, that because the Republic is around 25,000 years, Mandalore 10,000 years, Empire 30 years, and look what they did to everything.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I jumped in.
No, you're fine.
No,
It's a good
that's
point.
it though. I was gonna say that scene. We've been waiting for what two seasons now, maybe 3 years to see the Night of 1,000 Tears, like kind of play out, and to see the bombing of the Sundari on Mandalore. Gosh, to me that was like, it was like watching James Cameron's Terminator, where like they're crushing the skulls over the, with the machines rolling over. And to me, I was like, this is the coolest and grittiest and everything that I've like signed up to be here for kind of moment. I thought it was awesome.
The K2s and the probe droids was total Terminator
gosh.
right there.
Yes.
Absolutely, it was T2, no doubt, and deliberately so, I'm sure.
Go ahead, Alfie.
Okay, Scott, I'm going to go there one more time because the first watching this scene and listening to the Armorer talk while she's working, while they're doing everything, I instantly thought to all these interviews I've seen with Johnson, Abrams, where they said, well, we couldn't give a backstory on Snoke because it ruined the flow of the movie. We didn't really know what to do with the Knights of Ren because it took out the flow of the movie. When we tried to tell Luke's story, it took out the flow of the movie. She gave thousands of years of history of the Mandalorians in like 3 minutes. That is how you tell a story right there. The amount of world building and depth that went into that scene was just, like I said today, I can't even describe like how amazing that was.
And she had she had interesting business on screen while she was doing that.
Right.
So it was never a bore, and it was never a lecture. It was never a history lesson, because they were engaged in interesting visual business. And you got to give credit to Bryce Dallas Howard for staging it that way too.
100%. Go, Brent.
Well, so two things. One, as I was driving, I think I was at a red light, but I fist pumped when I saw the Armorer. I think I was at a red light.
I hope you were at a red light.
I gave a good fist pump in my car when I saw the Armorer, because I'm so happy to see Emily Swallow and the Armorer back. That fantastic character. But the next piece to that, what I was saying is, as you were talking about it, there was something visual. They seem to go to the Night of the Thousand Tears and give us Mandalorian history whenever they're melting down something of Beskar and turning it into something else. So it's that call back to, again, we were watching Mandalorian. We were not watching Boba Fett this time. So it was like a call back to that scene in the Armorer, the 2 times when he went in there and got his Beskar made and had his personal flashbacks to those nights and how he was found. So I think that I liked how that was tied in right there.
I agree. I liked how he also went through, he encapsulated the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, going back to her. I won this by battle. She explained Tar Vizsla. I've met a Jedi. You've completed your quest. This is the way. They step by step, while all those processes are going, they're just giving you what you need. If you hadn't watched a few episodes, or if you haven't seen The Mandalorian, you can step in here and go, oh, I'm caught up now. He's needing this. This is what happened. Boom, we're on to the next thing. So I
But
really
never
like the
once,
pacing.
but never once does it feel like, oh, here we go with expository dialogue, when that's what it is. I mean, it's exposition, but at no point do you go, oh boy, here comes the exposition again. You know, one of my favorite movies in the world is Midnight Run. But I mean, when the guy goes, you want your cigarettes back? Well, you're going to have to go to Flagstaff to get them, because that's where your pal Mosley went. It's like, oh God, please just, why didn't you just write it on a giant cue card and hold it up for everybody if you're going to do it that way? You know, there are times when expository dialogue is just a drag, but they just made it so interesting that it worked.
Did you guys think it was interesting that they didn't care for the Beskar spear because it could go through Beskar armor? And she said it wasn't, what'd she say? It wasn't worthy of you or something like that. The Darksaber fits you more, something to those lines. Again, I watched it one time, but they wanted that out. And yes, we get to see it be used for Grogu, but I thought that was interesting choice. Go ahead, Alfie, first.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I really thought that was interesting, because the first thing that hit me was when you see the big Mando, you know he's going to try to take the sword. And boy, wasn't it just convenient that you just happened to get rid of the, like she said, the one weapon that could hurt a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you. She said it was a more noble weapon, the Darksaber was.
There we go. There we go.
Nick.
Go. Nick, Scott and Nick.
She said it was a more noble weapon, but she also said that Beskar, for Mandalorian, Beskar was best used as armor. And so that's when he then gave it to her to give, make a Grogu armor out of.
There we go. There we go. Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys felt this way. I watched it 1.5 times, and where I stopped the halftime was right when they were burning down where they were melting that spear. And the first time I watched it, I went, no, what? No, like, that's so cool. Why would you get rid of that? And then my dad came over and we watched it together, and he got to that point and he goes, what? No, what? That's so cool. Why would you? And so to me, I get it. And I think the emotional tie-in of smelting it for Grogu is awesome. Yet at the same point, when you think back to season 2, that was one of my favorite parts, where he gets that spear and now he's like elite with that. So I don't know. I was a little sad to see that go, in all seriousness. I was bummed by that.
But there's a certain degree of religious fanaticism that enters in here, where they are willing to burn any bridge as long as it adheres to their doctrine. Yeah. And they are, to me, just as negatively rigid as the Jedi were, which is what caused their downfall in the prequel trilogy. I mean, you see why these guys there are so few of them now, and they're running and hiding everywhere, because their rigid adherence to their ideology has kept them from growing and becoming, more than they have been.
D-Doc, then Brent.
One thing I took from that scene was, number one, how he just will so blindly listen to everything they say, no matter what. Like, and you see him be this, awesome warrior, but then when it comes to her, he is just like, I'm going to listen to every single thing you say. And also, when they started to fight each other, I couldn't help but to think, I'm like, there's only so many Mandalorians left, but they're so attached to their traditions that, one of them could have killed each other in that fight. Mm-hmm. Like, all it took was one swing of the Darksaber for him to die. And you only have, but that's their tradition, and that's what they're going to do. So, and
the cool vibro blade. We had the vibro blade.
Yep.
Yes.
He had at Paz Vizla's throat.
Brent.
I was just I like the little shield that he had that popped out as well. There is that, and then I also think the rigid adherence to the religion. The point right at the end of the fight, she basically says, "You can no longer be with us. Like, you gotta go cure yourself. You gotta go purify yourself. You can't be one of us. I'm sorry. Like, we want you to be here," kind of a thing. But bye. Take a hike.
No, I like that. You guys are hitting on the religious rigidity there. I really like that. But being a Clone Wars guy, I really like the throwback to Bo-Katan saying she's a cautionary tale. Her house lost their way. They lost their way, and we lost our world. If we wouldn't have hidden on Concordia, the moon over there, we would have been gone with the Night of 1,000 Tears as well. So you're wrapping up Satine, Bo-Katan, all that stuff. Now, if they would just mention Corky, we would have been okay, but they didn't.
True.
But to hear all that stuff wrapped up from the Clone Wars was awesome. I know the Duchess has got to be. She's probably freaking out with all those comments. Jessica, our guest from recent weeks, when they were bringing that stuff out, she was probably like losing her mind. But it was really cool. I thought that was really great how they tied that all in there together. Who's next? Who wanted? Brent, go ahead.
I was just gonna say she also talked. The Armorer talked a little crap about our friend Bo-Katan. Basically said that everything was more or less her fault, and maybe because she didn't win the Darksaber, it was handed to her from Sabine. That led to the downfall of Mandalore. Is like that's where the Armorer's vision of what's going on, and that's why they had to become so fanatical. But yeah.
Or maybe they were so fanatical that they interpreted, I mean, they lost out and they interpreted it as, we got to blame somebody. So maybe it was this lack of adherence to the religion. You know, what did we do wrong? And it's kind of, you go back to Job's tale. Job didn't do anything wrong, but he's like, God, why have you cursed me? You know, all these awful, terrible things are happening to him. And a lot of these guys tend to find some reason to affix blame and attach it to their religion when they've got the fanaticism. Now, the question as to why Din Djarin just falls in line with everything. These are the people that saved him.
Yeah.
And I think he's got again, you go back to that father, becoming a father thing. I think he's got that same sentiment that Grogu may have towards him, or that, he's on the other side of that relationship now where he's kind of saved this child and this child looks up to him. He looks up to these people because they're the ones who saved him. So clearly they must be morally of high character, and they must be morally right, and I must follow their path because they have saved me.
And they watch our podcast while they're flying their ships. Nick, go ahead.
Well, it could be religious fanaticism, but I think the other part of it too, like my biggest complaint from Mando season 2 was when he offers her the Darksaber and she's like, no, I can't take it. And you go, wait a minute. Remember back in, I can't remember if it was Clone Wars or the Rebels, where like they just offer it up and like they take it so willingly. Why would you not just take, like, why do we have to create this storyline of all this drama of, well, and remember how long we speculated of like, is Bo-Katan gonna fight Mando, to get the sword back? This to me was a cool little tie-in, almost as this is why she was so pissed when he got the sword and she didn't get the sword. To me, I thought it was really cool, almost like retrofitting writing to go like, hey, if you were pissed at the end of season 2, like take a deep breath. It's going to be okay, because there's all this lore into the fact that if you don't win it in combat, you're now cursing, the generation that wields it. I thought that was cool.
She obviously knows that because she's been down that path before.
Yeah.
So.
We talked about go ahead, Brent.
Just the other thing is, did anybody else find it interesting that the Darksaber fed off of the energy of the Mandalorian, and the way that the fight went and the way she was training him? She said he was fighting it and the Darksaber became heavier and heavier. It almost felt like it became a sledgehammer as opposed to a lightsaber. And she said it was because of the way that he was fighting with it, and he was fighting against it as opposed to using it and like learning how to control it. Anybody else find that to be interesting?
I thought that was really weird. Alfie, I'm sure you got something on it.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting, especially the way she kept saying, you're not balanced in your mind, you don't have focus. And if you notice when he duels with the other Mandalorian, he could barely even pick it up. Even being as big as he was, he couldn't hardly swing it off of the ground.
Yeah.
And I have to wonder if that's not a lightsaber thing too. I mean, we were kids. I don't know where it came from. We were kids. We would talk about that kind of thing. We always noticed that when Luke got into a lightsaber fight, Empire and Jedi, he two-handed it, always two-handed it. Vader was a one-hander. What is the difference? What did Luke know going into Empire Strikes Back? What did he not know about handling his lightsaber that he had to use two hands, whereas Vader was a one-hander guy? What was that?
George Lucas always said he wanted it to have weight in the hilt, but he never talked about the blade being heavy. So that's a good question. Go ahead.
And early on, when he was slicing up the people in the Rocky meat locker, it wasn't nearly as heavy, right? So I don't know if it's because he was using it more and was fighting against it, but it didn't pick up the weight like it did when he was fighting with the Armorer.
Go ahead, Nick.
That's
what though? It did look heavy when he slashed that dude in half at the beginning.
When he did whack himself with it too. I mean,
and he got himself with it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, is there something to that of like maybe there could be some, in this speculation, but could there be something to like the intent or use of what you're doing with it that ties in directly, you know, like, so I kill somebody and it's like almost fighting me to, you know, slash across somebody.
Go ahead,
well
Alfie.
You know, getting really into the Force lore. I mean, the original creator was thousands of years before and was a Mandalorian. You know, we have this ongoing story with the Emperor and his imprint that he puts on things. You know, Darth Bane putting, you know, himself into the statues. You know, what did this guy know when he made the Darksaber? So does it feed off of certain emotions and it becomes easier to use? You know, Mandalorian Jedi, that's a whole different thing than we've ever seen before.
It is a little bit messy for sure. So we've done all this talking. We haven't even, but we brought it up briefly. We got on the transport to go back to Tatooine. And we get there. First of all, did anybody else think it was wild that they actually stopped him and made him take all of his weapons and leave them? I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, this is going to lead to something. There's no way they're making him take all his weapons away and it's not going to come back to haunt him. But it didn't. But I just thought it was a really weird scene to add in there. Anybody else think that? Go ahead, Brent.
It kind of felt like a Hot Shots Part 2. I think that's where it was. Or there is some spoof movie where one guy just keeps taking the weapons out of his and putting it into like a carrier. It was just like he just kept taking weapons out and kept loading up that container. Like that's what it seemed like to me. There's a spoof movie out there where something like that happens.
And once again,
Johnny Dangerously.
Yeah. Once again, he applies for a religious exemption and cannot get one.
Wow. Go ahead, Nick.
I did think it was interesting the amount of stuff that he pulled out. Like the one that made me laugh was like, and I was actually saying it out loud. I was like, yo, hide that thing. Like nobody knows that that's a weapon. Like the whip cord that he pulls out of his arm and puts it into it kind of thing. And I can't help but wonder, are they doing that scene just to show you the amount of weaponry that he's walking around with? Almost like you think back to like if you had the Star Wars visual dictionaries and you saw Boba Fett's knee rockets, and like in the original trilogy, you never saw him shoot the knee rockets, but you're like, man, I wonder what that would be like. And then you saw it in episode 6 of the second season, and you were like,
right,
that is so freaking cool. Like if he was almost like disrobing to show you, here are all the weapons that I have.
Yep, I got you. Scott, go ahead.
Nice touch too. They have the Rex droid as the luggage droid over there, or the cargo droid or whatever. And then when you get to Tatooine, same type of droid, but in severe disrepair, can't speak, stuttering, because it's Tatooine. And we don't maintain our things on Tatooine, unless, of course, they're cycles that are brightly colored. But other than that, everything else gets filthy and dirty and not in good repair, because that's Tatooine.
Yes. Was anybody else excited to see our good friend Pelimoto, R5D4, the pit droids all come back before we see the replacement for the Razor Crest? Nick, being a prequels guy.
I was less excited about all those. I was so excited about the BD droid that showed up from Fallen Order that was being attacked by the little lizard. I saw it and
that was a Womp Rat.
Yep.
Excuse me, the Womp Rat. I was so, see, that just shows you how little I cared about everything else that was going on, because I saw the BD droid and I was like, we are tying in everything like in this episode. It was like fan service to the extreme. I thought it was so fun.
Guys, I'll start this and then just go with it. But I know I'm an original trilogy person. I grew up with it. My son and I loved the Naboo Starfighter when it came out in the prequels, and to see them bring that back as the ship, and the modifications they did to it and all that kind of stuff, and to get it more chromed up with just a touch of yellow like the Razor Crest was, man, that was so well done in my opinion. I thought it was great. And I know there's prequel fans worldwide right now going, yes, they're bringing back some of my favorite stuff. Brent, I'll start with you, then Nick, and we'll go from there.
Two things. They went full 80s on this with the 1980s Trans Am muffler on the hood. And then the others was the A-Team montage as they were putting it back together. So I got straight like A-Team's montage. We're going to build this ship. And then like the whole like muffler thing on the top of the roof looked like it was 80s Trans Am. I just wanted to get those two pieces and two shots in because like I loved everything about it. It looked like it was going to be a pod racer. And I was like, why is they're going to give her a pod racer? And then they pulled it off. And I was like, okay, that's why it looked like a pod racer. Yeah, it was awesome.
You're just liking it because it's going to be another ship that you can put or another thing you can put into your Legions game. Nick and then Scott.
Okay, so I've told this story before on the show, but like 10-year-old Nick was finally vindicated today in this episode. So in 2002, my dad took me to the Indianapolis Children's Museum when Attack of the Clones came out, and they brought in a full live version of the Naboo Starfighter, and they had somebody there answering questions about the Naboo Starfighter. What I didn't realize was they were like answering real life prop questions. They weren't answering Star Wars questions because nobody knew what the hell I was talking about. When I got up and I asked the question, I said, do they use a hyperspace docking ring or does the Naboo 1 Starfighter have an onboard hyperdrive? And the 21-year-old tour guide looked at me like I had 3 heads and went, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was deeply frustrated. In this episode, Pelimoto goes, and it has an internal hyperdrive, so you don't need a hyperspace docking ring. And I sat in my basement and I was like, finally, like I know the answer to this thing. It's like been 20 years in the making. Like we finally got there and figured it out.
Scott, you were
Thank you, Dave Filoni.
There you go.
First off, I love they're missing that last piece. They get it from the Jawas, and it's you look at it and you go, oh, that was in the trash compactor.
Yep, that's it.
They put it in place and then they started. Am I the only one that was expecting somebody to yell, "It's working"? And nobody did. I thought there's a missed opportunity.
Oh no, it was great. And you know what? We joke about sometimes Star Wars humor, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. But I was kind of digging the dating Jawas and furry. Very furry.
They're furry, very furry.
It works for her. It works for her character.
It works for her character. D-Doc, Alfie, you guys chime in. Go ahead.
If we're talking about the Naboo Starfighter, I mean, back to what Scott said earlier, they put some freaking budget into the filming of these scenes, man. Like that was so clean when he took off in that and he started going. I was just like, my God, they put a budget into this episode.
Oh, and it's wobbly. I mean, the way it flies, not just perfectly smooth. I mean, there was some real work on that animation.
Oh, it was incredible. And especially like the way it reflected off of the sun, like they just, it looked real. It looked freaking real. And especially when he started to do the freaking pod race course, I was just like, are you kidding me that we're seeing this right now? Like that episode was just a pinch yourself episode. The whole, like once he got there, you're just like, are we seriously seeing all this stuff? Especially with the BD unit as well, Nick. I was just like, oh my God, because that's just Fallen Order right there. Like BD is like the go to Fallen Order if you haven't played it.
Brent, then Alfie. Sorry, I accidentally hit a button.
I swear if you hit us with, well, it wasn't new, I'm going to freak out. That's all there is to it.
Not at all. Not at all. I was going to play like the whole, like, this isn't a good episode. It's all filler and do all that. But
I've been waiting on that all day, all day long.
But I'm not going to do that. However, I do distinctly remember having a conversation with these guys on the podcast about the pod race. And we looked it up and it was in the outskirts of Mos Espa. It was not in the outskirts of Mos Eisley. And I have problems that he was on the course because as it was, the ramp was right there, right where Anakin hit the ramp to go launch himself up. So I have like that. There's some inconsistencies there.
It was a big course.
He was also
flying very fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, it was fantastic. I loved it.
Is she in Mos Eisley?
Yeah, because Pelimoto's Mos Eisley. She's not in Mos Espa.
Yeah.
Well, but he's flying a starship.
I know.
That's like saying, well, you got on that 747. How dare you not be in Atlanta and be in California instead? I don't understand it.
Time slippage is how we.
He's flying a spaceship for crying out loud. He can get over to Mos Espa pretty quickly, I would think. Now there was no stone needle. I was a little disappointed I didn't see the stone needle there, but that's an old guy thing. If you're gonna do Beggar's Canyon, there should be a stone needle. That's all.
That's why we have you here, Scott, for you to bring up the stone needle.
But but to Brent's almost non-point, I did get about 3/4 of the way through this episode and go, I'm enjoying this, but we're not really moving forward at all. Like we are completely marking time right now. Well,
I disagree. Only because we finished Mandalorian season 2, and all of us were waiting, going, man, what happened after you left Grogu on that ship? And so when I saw him come out in the meat locker and he's Grogu-less and he's got the spear, to me, this felt like we were moving forward way more than anything that we've got in Book of Boba so far.
Well, but I'm talking about the Book of.
Okay, yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
fair. That's fair.
I know it wasn't obvious this week, but this was Book of Boba Fett.
This might as well have been Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
Hey, I will go back
agree.
to my interview with my discussion with Mark Newbold, who way back when told me, Joe, Book of Boba Fett is really Mandalorian season 2.5. He was like, it's really season 2.5 Mandalorian. And for the first part, I'm going, is it really? But it kind of is turning into that now.
And I'll float the theory. I don't know if we're too early for this or not, but I'll float the theory that I think season 3 of Mandalorian happens between this episode and next episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my
I agree
belief.
with that.
Alfie, did he beat you to it? Was that what you were going to say?
No, that's not what I was going to say.
Okay.
No, of course not.
Once again, I kind of forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, this scene, it had everything. Video games with BD1. She mentioned the Queen of Naboo. You got the Naboo starfighter. She talked about I don't know, I'm going to say it wrong, so I'm just going to say Space Horses from episode 7.
Father.
Yes.
I'm your father.
And the ship looked awesome. Unbelievable for a TV series. The speed, the just animation of it, the way it wobbled, it had that hot rod kind of shake to it, and the little Grogu seat that she made.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, the Grogu seat where the droid would usually sit. You're going to see little Grogu shaking and dancing behind Mandalorian in the future.
And like you were saying earlier about this episode being a shift, I also think this is a shift for the Mandalorian, because how is he supposed to bring home a bounty in a one-seater starfighter?
That has been a common criticism of this. Yeah, but he can't carbon freeze people and stow them anywhere.
Interesting. Yeah.
But if you are building a super team and your super team already has a team troop carrier, you now have a Batwing.
Nice.
I like it. Did Nick or D-Doc put their hand up? Sorry. I've just glanced around here. So let's go here. We now have him shooting around space, speeding in space, precautionary tail going around that transport too quick, and 2 X-Wings pop up, basically like cops, and want to have a talk with him and go through all the rigmarole that you would kind of feel with that. We know one of the X-Wing pilots from the previous episodes. Did I miss? Who was the other one? Is it somebody I should know? Is it somebody just new?
It's Luke's body double, actually.
Is it?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool.
He's in the credits as the
Okay.
X-Wing pilot.
Good.
Did Favreau get a credit as coming back as Paz Vizla or whatever Vizla he is? Because I looked at the credits on the second time I watched it, and I didn't notice his name show up as a credit for on screen or voice.
That's a good
That voice
question.
didn't really sound as much like him as it did in the previous one in season 1 of Mando.
He's a busy guy, so maybe he doesn't have time to do an extra voice here or there. He's running like 5 different shows and making movies and all that kind of stuff. D-Doc.
I can't help but to bring it up, but do you think Gina Carano was supposed to be the other pilot of that X-Wing?
No. She was never. I don't think she was going to be an X-wing pilot. Now, I do believe that she's part of the Rangers of the New Republic and all of that whole rigmarole, and they may be pivoting to this Canadian actor who is the other pilot, the one who was basically the boss in this one. They may be pivoting to him to be the lead, but I don't think she was ever meant to be an X-wing pilot. I think she was meant to be the muscle when the X-wing pilots found whatever was going to happen.
So again, a little cross
makes
promotion by having them continuously come back in to be the lead. When we start that show, we'll be like, oh, we know these guys. They've been around. Alfie, go ahead.
Ponch and John.
This may be one of the most real world scenes in Star Wars. You got a planet full of drug smugglers, murderers, there's assassination attempts, extortion, you name it is going on in this planet.
And Mando's got a taillight out.
Yeah, you get pulled over out in the sticks, with your souped up hot rod that you just fixed up, and you get pulled over for a registration violation because your numbers don't match. I mean, that's to me just so real world.
And the fact that they didn't want to go back to the office and fill out the paperwork.
Yeah. So I don't want to do it.
Well, and part of the problem obviously was that Mando had put that little sign on the back that said tag applied for, and you can't, that's not legal. So
lost plate.
Yeah.
Place. Yeah.
Your dealer plate expired yesterday.
Yeah. Gosh, that's crazy. Go ahead, Brent.
I do have one technical gripe during that scene, and they're usually pretty good because I feel like they shoot this in the volume, and they're usually pretty good at making the background look like it's moving. However, when I don't know his name, so I apologize, the Canadian actor, in the background, Tatooine stayed completely stationary. And they're supposed to be flying, and there's supposed to be some movement. And as I was watching it the second time, I noticed that Tatooine in the background was completely stationary and wasn't moving at all. Small, little technical gripe.
Wow. The second time wasn't in your car, right?
No.
See, you could see it that time.
I was going to say, that was pretty impressive if you picked that up. I watched it 1.5 times and I didn't see that. That's good.
Go ahead.
I couldn't
D-Doc.
believe how good the X-Wings look. Sorry, D-Doc.
No, you're fine.
But for a TV series, they may be, outside of The Force Awakens, the best X-Wings.
They were nice. D-Doc hit us.
They're incredible. And one thing I wanted to comment on that we were talking about a little bit earlier about how this is such a Mandalorian episode in the middle of Boba Fett. This might be the format that we're going to see to tell the big story as far as the Ahsoka show goes and stuff like that. Like maybe we're going to see all these storylines tie into each other where like in the Ahsoka show, we might see an entire episode where like, who knows how everything ends right now, but like maybe we'll have a full episode with Boba Fett and Mando together. Who knows? Like, I mean, I think I know that this almost felt like the pilot of season 3 of Mandalorian, but at the same time, this might just be how they're going to play out this, in my opinion, Marvel universe of Star Wars, of shows that we're getting, which I freaking love. So.
Me too. I think, Alfie said it before. It's like it's a long post-credit thing in a Marvel movie, except it's just a full episode, right? Like we're getting a full episode, which could be the tag at the end of a Marvel movie. Fennec shows up, which is great. I think everybody's, falling head over heels for Fennec and Garsa Whip. I mean, I think the internet's abuzz with those two ladies being 58 years old and, looking
well, you
not
see
58 years old. So
you see the photo on the internet of Fennec in her fire spray Leia outfit, and you say to yourself, whew.
You said fire spray Leia.
Well,
I love that.
You can't say the other thing. So
it's Hut Slayer. It's Hut Slayer Leia.
Okay.
It's too late. I just put that together. That's so
you're right. I did. Yeah. I mean, look, it's amazing. And honestly, to think that those two ladies are like taking over Star Wars and Twitterverse and social media by storm, just by being very attractive ladies who are not in their 20-somethings and they're playing great roles. I mean, I think it's awesome. I think it's good for fans everywhere. Go ahead, Brent.
Yeah, so I do have a minor gripe with the character of Fennec Shan. she's not moving forward, and she's not being developed as much as I would like to have seen, because I think D-Doc mentioned it beforehand that she was excited to see where the character would go. And there really isn't much other than, can we kill him? Can we kill him? Can we kill him? Which is funny, but like, I don't see her story as much as I was hoping to see. And that's a small gripe. I said it's a small gripe, but I don't see it moving the way that I was hoping to see more of her story and more of her background.
Alfie, go.
I think that is kind of more Boba's direction of where he's going, and I don't think she sees the big picture yet. I think we'll get there. I think right now she's content with, or really putting her focus into being a number 2. And there's a part of me that thinks Boba's really not that concerned with being a number 1. This is a long game for him, and she's kind of seeing the short game.
I agree.
That's an interesting way to look at that, because she's kind of guiding him through the maze. So she's got a certain skill set that she's utilizing, but yeah, it may not necessarily be. There are times when she comes into conflict with him, and that may be why.
I've thought that as we've gone through the progress of the season, that he might be grooming her to be that, hey, I'm going to get this set up, and then boom, Boba's going to kick back and retire, maybe with some of the other old clones that are, still hanging around and go.
The old clones home.
That's right. I've done my thing, and this is what she's known her whole life. This is what she's all about. She might be that next in line to take over and be a leader of that house. But that's some great points there. I did love that when he finds out it's for Boba, he says it's on the house, and then he finishes with, I got to go visit a little friend.
And he did not mean go to the bathroom.
This is true.
Yes.
But I mean,
sometimes that's said.
So leaving off this episode, I mean, like you said, season 3 of Mandalorian could happen between this episode and the showdowns that go on with Boba Fett at the end, season or episode 6 and 7. But is there a chance we're going to see Grogu again this season, or is it going to happen in Mandalorian? I thought this was a fantastic episode. It's got me more pumped and ready for episode 6 and 7 of this now than I even was before, even though it wasn't focused on Boba Fett. But the world building was great. Go ahead, Brent.
I was just remembering as you were talking about this and the season 3 of the Mando happening between there, I might see 1 or 2 episodes, but I don't then they might jump past where Boba stops, right? So I think there could be a couple episodes then jump past. But I was also thinking about our friend T-Bob mentioned before season 2 started that baby Grogu was going to be standing next to the Mandalorian in Mandalorian armor and in Beskar armor. And that seems to be coming to fruition, which is just insane, but that would be the coolest image. And can you imagine the amount of plushies and the amount of material that would be sold with baby Grogu in Mandalorian armor, which I think they've already started doing anyway, but yeah, just my mind was going there as we're talking.
The amount that they will sell if they show that character in a little Beskar outfit with a cape, and I mean, it'll just blow things through the roof. So you're right,
making
Brent.
your own mashup character right there.
Yes. Somebody else hit me with some thoughts where we go from here, or how it ended, or anything like that.
Well, I can't help but to think, are we going to see Din help him with this battle now? Because if he's got to go, it's like, well, Boba's got a lot of stuff going on right now. Like, and that's exactly what I thought in that scene. So, I mean, I kind of hope that Mando season 3 isn't that. Like, maybe we could see like a quick flash of Mando visiting Grogu and seeing that he's okay, and then going back to help Boba. But like, he's got to be there for this Star Wars. See, I keep thinking of this show as Avengers Civil War, where we're getting this battle of like these awesome characters pitted against each other. And Din's got to be in this battle, right? Because he said it's on the house. He's going to be there. So are we going to see this little meetup in this show?
Scott and then Alfie.
They don't put that little Grogu seat in the fighter for him to not ride in it. I mean, they don't do that.
Yeah.
They don't set up the little Beskar creation for little Grogu without paying that off. And again, whether they pay that off in season 3 of Mando or they pay it off, but I feel like if he's going now to go see Grogu, there's something is going to happen between those episodes. And what I feel like we get is he shows up with him in the ship, probably in his little armor thing, whatever it is that he's had made. I almost felt like, because he saw these little ringlets drop down, I almost felt like he had mail, like
Yes.
mail made for him.
I thought the same thing.
Like Beskar mail, because he'd grow out of the armor.
Nice.
Like Frodo.
Yeah, well, there you
That's
go.
exactly what I thought of right away was Frodo's chainmail that he had in Lord of the Rings.
So, I feel like, and again, I do think maybe it's not the whole season, Brent. Maybe you're right on that. But I feel like some of Mando season 3 is going to happen between these 2 episodes, between this week and next week. And it's going to be him going and him ending up, I think Grogu ends up choosing to not be a Jedi, but choosing to be a Mandalorian instead.
Ooh. And then we will have a Mandalorian who has Jedi sensitivity, just like Tar Vizla all those years ago. So
And it may be that he needs it for the Darksaber. He may need Grogu to get him through the Darksaber stuff.
Go ahead, Alf.
Okay, D-Doc, here's one thing to make you feel a little bit better about this. There is no time constraint in Star Wars, because if you go back and remember The Rise of Skywalker, that entire movie was only happening in a time frame of 16 hours. So we can do all kinds of stuff. You can go to as many planets as you want, talk to as many people as you want, organize a gigantic galactic fleet, and still be less than a day. So he's got plenty of time.
Depends on what planet you're on.
Time.
I feel better about it.
Don't you put that time sequence in here.
It all comes full circle.
Don't you do
Once
that to me,
again.
Ricky Bobby?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
gosh.
you can literally blow up 3 stars at the same time in different systems with one blast within just a very few minutes. So yeah, I think we'll be okay.
That's it.
We'll be fine.
Okay. Hey, I tell you what, we buzzed through it. We whipped around, hit a little bit of everything on Book of Boba Fett, episode 5. Any closing thoughts? We'll get your closing thoughts and anything you want to hit on before we go. Let's start with Brent Dykeman. I'm just pulling out the randomizer here. Brent, put it up on screen. I see him. Little Yoda.
So Yoda finally got released to the US a couple weeks ago. I did a short video. D-Doc was going to edit it up. You can take as much out as you want, but it took me about 10 minutes to assemble this guy and probably about 15 minutes to paint him because he's so small.
Dude, wearing shades?
Not really, but he's kind of like shaded so you can see the wrinkles, and it's not the greatest. But he also came out with his Kashyyyk friends, and this is a Battle Shield Wookiee. They come as miniatures. I don't know if it's Star Wars Legion is the name of the game. They come as gray plastic models, so you're model building and then you paint them up however you would like. So I painted the Wookiees up, and that's just kind of the 2 new additions to the Star Wars Legion. Other than that, I enjoyed the Mandalorian episode. Oh, I'm sorry, Book of Boba Fett episode. However, it was nothing but filler. I mean, didn't really move the story forward.
It didn't.
It didn't really move the Boba Fett story forward. I'm still wondering if that Rancor is going to come and eat Boba, because I think there's a sinister side to him. I don't trust the Hutts. I haven't had a chance to say that. I don't trust the gift from the Hutts. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, it's kind of the Trojan Hut. Yeah.
Let's go to.
I love the pun, but yes, I agree.
Nick Shesky. Closing thoughts, my friend.
Man, I love this episode. It just gets me more like this is everything that I've bought in for Star Wars. So excited. I got all my Star Wars stuff out of storage today from my parents' house. Just serendipitously was over there today and said, you know what? I'm going to get this all out. So I'm officially in the basement now, not in the kidnapped trailer that y'all thought I was in before. And so the hope is that by the time we jump on the next one, I've officially claimed this corner. It's the only corner of my house that I've claimed, but that it will have Star Wars paraphernalia up on it next time that we get on.
That sounds great. And we are glad you were here and keep us updated with those little ones and that fun household you're in right now. D-Doc, let's go to you, my friend.
All right. Two things. Number one, I'm getting more excited about this convention that we're going to. I'm like hyped up to go to it. I've never flown by myself before, so I will be flying by myself for the first time to meet you guys at this convention, which I'm
Wow.
very excited about. Yeah, I've only flown with my wife and my family. And number two, I think I finally need to set this up, the Hot Toys Mando.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I finally need to open the damn box and set this thing up after this episode. So I've only looked at it in the plastic. I want to get a cover for it. I don't want it to get any dust on it. I have animals in my house. But that episode was just like, I need to get this freaking thing set up behind me for these shows. So
Cannot wait.
I
to
loved
see
the
that.
episode.
Good. Cannot wait to see it. I'm glad you could join us. And yeah, we're all pumped about that. Well, I'll hit more on that before we close out. Alfie, hit me with your closing thoughts.
Closing thought. Give me a minute here because I've been thinking about this all day. Watching this episode, Mando, the Armorer, all that talk about Mandalore got me thinking. This all started from us loving a 3.75-inch figure that we'd never seen in a movie before, had no idea. Everyone loved this character so much. In the EU, we wrote a backstory all the way back to the Knights of the Old Republic. Comic books, video games, whatever, into the prequels, the Clone Wars, Jango Fett, even more and more story. This guy's story just keeps going and going and going, so much to where we've created this lore now that he's not even a real Mandalorian anymore. The Mandalorians were created off of an action figure, and he's not even one anymore. And this is how far this story has gone and how much we love this character. And I love every minute of this. I'm hyped as hell for the convention. I can't wait. And I really can't wait to see where this series goes. And as far as that, all of the series, because I still feel they're all going to tie together. Every series is going to have an episode like this one.
Preach, baby. Preach. Amen. I love it. Hey, let's finish off with our special guest tonight, Mr. Scott Ryfun, who was wearing his Boba Fett Columbia jacket, and he's got a Boba Fett shirt on. As we finish the show, Scott, any closing thoughts that you want to hit before we break away here?
Yeah, first, D-Doc, do understand when you are flying by yourself, they will make you empty all of your weapons into a box before you get on the plane. So don't take anything you don't want to, put aside for a little bit. The biggest thing I want to say after this episode is more Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah.
She's been very successful in Mandalorian. This is, as I mentioned earlier, it's the best looking episode. I think it's the best one from a storytelling perspective of the entire season. I mean, I think it's got the best flow. I think it looks the most Star Wars. She just has the right visual sensibilities. She has the right way with the actors. She has the right way with saying, we've got some expository dialogue. We need some other business here in order to make this make it palatable, make it not feel like, it's like when you go to the dentist and they numb you. A lot of expository scenes feel like you're just getting drilled without the without the anesthetic. This actually is them going, hey, let's make this visually interesting. Let's make this a Star Wars tale being told. It's a fairy tale, and we're going to tell a good fairy tale. We're going to tell it interestingly. We're not going to bore people. We're not going to put them to sleep. And then again, what she's done visually has just been very true to Star Wars, and while giving us new things. I mean, we've never seen a meat locker in Star Wars, but when she gave us one, we said, yeah, okay, that's a Star Wars meat locker. We're good with that. In fact, I'm waiting for the playset with the giant sides of whatever that is hanging up there. But yeah, so again, my summary of the episode just is more Bryce Dallas Howard, please.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And I think all of us here are in agreement on that. And you know what, if there are ever new Star Wars movies, which who knows, but if there are, she definitely should be at the top of the list to say, hey, take what you've done on the small screen and go do that and expand on it into a movie, showing us what you know about Star Wars, because she's doing a great job.
I'll trade Patty Jenkins for her in a heartbeat. Absolutely.
Well, I will say this. There's a reason why we have these co-hosts on here, is because they are fun. They know what they're talking about, and they make Star Wars a better community and more fun. So you guys, I can't thank you enough for being here. And there's a reason why we have guys like Scott Ryfun on, because he knows what he's talking about and he's entertaining. And you know what? It's just fun for us to sit around and talk a little Star Wars. So thank you to all of you guys, and thank you to the listeners and followers who have paid attention to us for 121 episodes, because if you weren't, we could just stop doing this and just do it in a text chain like we do every day already. But you know, it's more fun when we get to do this and laugh out loud. And yeah, so a couple things we are doing. I'm working on some merch. I should have some t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, maybe hats, long sleeve tees, all in the works. Alfie's working on some stickers and magnets. We should have that fairly soon. So if you're interested, let me know. Shoot us a message at Rule of the Galaxy SW@gmail.com. Don't send it to StarWars.com. They don't want they won't make that for you. But we are looking April 29th through May 1st to go to the ICCC in Nashville, the ICC Con. Ian McDermott is going to be there. So there's a chance we're going to meet the Emperor, which would be awesome. And going all the way back to the beginning of the show, Timothy Zahn is going to be at the show. And I'm losing my mind because after Heir to the Empire, you guys have all heard the story before. I wrote him a handwritten letter telling him how much I loved it and telling him how much I loved Star Wars. He wrote me a letter back, signed the whole thing. It was one of my most treasured things. And then right after that, we moved and my dad threw the letter away. So I've reached out to him. He said, sorry, I don't really write a lot of letters right now, but you know, hopefully we can meet up. Well, Mr. Zahn, hopefully that will be happening in Nashville, and meeting him will make up for the lost letter. So guys, thank you again. As always, follow us at Rule of the Galaxy SW on Twitter. Email us with thoughts about merch, and if you can make it to the convention in Nashville, at Rule of the Galaxy SW@gmail.com. Follow us at Rule of the Galaxy on Facebook and YouTube. And until next week, when we'll have Steve Glosson on. So Scott, you'll listen in and hear him probably say some things about you, I'm sure. But until then, may the Force be with you.